A very good morning, students. Today we'll be learning about iron industries. The history of iron and steel industry in India is nearly 4,000 years old. The famous iron pillar near Qutub Minar dates back to 350 AD. The first attempt to produce iron and steel on modern lines was made in 1830 at Porto Novo near Chennai. But it was not successful as smelting used to be done with the help of charcoal. The real progress in the Indian iron and steel industry was made in 1907 when J. Tata established the smelting factory at Sakchi, the former name of Jamshedpur. Subsequently, the Indian Iron and Steel Company Limited (IISCO) was set up at Hirapur in 1918 and the Vishveshwaraya Iron and Steel Limited (VISL) at Bhadravati in 1923. Well, in today's class, we will learn about iron industry, its overview, iron and steel plants in India, distribution of the iron and steel industries, national steel plant, problems of the Indian iron and steel industries in India. It was in the second five-year plan, 1956 to 61, when tremendous progress was made by the iron and steel industry. It was during this plan when integrated iron and steel plants were established at Bhilai, Durgapur and Rourkela. The Bokaro Iron and Steel Plant was established with the help of Russian government in 1964. The SAIL was set up in January 1973. In the fifth five-year plan, it was resolved to set up 4 new iron and steel plants at Paradweep, Salem, Vijayanagar and Vishakhapatnam. After China, Japan and the United States of America, India was the third largest producer of steel in the world with the production of 106.5 megatons in 2018. India's crude steel and finished steel production increased to 103.13 MT and 104.98 MT in 2017-18. Locational factors, let's look at what affects the iron and steel location. The raw materials used in iron and steel industry are iron ore, manganese, flux, limestone, fuel, coking coal and fire clay. It consumes heavy quantity of coal and iron ore. Both these minerals are weight losing. Consequently, it is located either at the site of coal mines or near the iron ore deposits. All these raw materials including water, bauxite, dolomite, etc. and coal are found in the Chota Nagpur plateau, are rich in the raw material required for the smelting of the iron ore. Let's look at an overview of the industry, iron and steel. At global level in 2018, the world crude steel production reached 1,789 million tons and showed a growth of 4.94% over 2017. China remained world's largest crude steel producer in 2018, followed by India, Japan and the United States. Per capita finished steel consumption in 2017 is placed at 212 kg for world and 523 kg for China, and for India it was 69 kg as published by the World Steel Association. India is the largest producer of sponge iron in the world and the third largest finished steel consumer in the world after China and United States. Indian steel sector has been driven by the domestic availability of raw materials such as iron ore and cost-effective labor. Consequently, the steel industry has been a major contributor to India's manufacturing output. Development of the steel sector. The economic reforms initiated by the government since 1991 added new dimensions to industrial growth in general and the steel industry in particular. Licensing requirement for capacity creation was abolished, except for certain locational restrictions, and the steel industry was removed from the list of industries reserved for the public sector. Automatic approval of foreign equity investment up to 100% was granted. Price and distribution controls were removed with a view to make the steel industry efficient and competitive. Restrictions on external trade, both in import and export, were removed with drastic reductions in the import policy. Now let's look at the growth profile. The growth profile. The liberalization of industrial policy and other initiatives taken by the government have given a definite impetus for entry, participation and growth of the private sector and steel industry. While the existing units are being modernized or expanded, a large number of new steel plants have also come up in different parts of the country based on modern, cost-effective, state-of-the-art technologies. In the last few years, the rapid and stable growth of the demand side has also prompted domestic entrepreneurs to set up fresh greenfield projects in different states of the country. Today, as the second largest crude steel producer globally and with a capacity of over 100 million tons, the Indian steel industry has come a long way. Pig iron. India is also an important producer of pig iron. Post-liberalization, with setting up several units in the private sector, not only imports have drastically reduced, but also India has turned out to be a net exporter of pig iron. Sponge iron. India, world's largest producer of sponge iron as of 2018, has a host of coal-based units located in mineral-rich states of the country. The quality of sponge iron is primarily ascertained by the percentage of metallization, which is removal of oxygen, which is the ratio of metallic iron to the total iron present in the product. Import and export of the iron and steel. Although India started exporting steel way back in 1964, exports were not regulated and depended largely on domestic surpluses. Subsequently, the rapid growth of domestic steel demand has led to a decline in the rate of growth of the steel exports from India to ensure that domestic requirements are adequately met. India is currently a net importer of total finished steel. Since 1991, with further opening up of the Indian economy, a focused reform process in place and a rapid but stable growth of the Indian economy, investments have flown significantly into the steel industry of the country, with major investment plans announced in the states of Odisha, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh and West Bengal. Demand availability. Demand and availability of iron and steel in the country are largely determined by market forces, and gaps in the demand availability are met mostly through imports. Interface with consumers exists by way of meeting the Steel Consumers Council, which is conducted on regular basis. Interface helps in redressing availability problems, complaints related to quality. Steel prices. Price regulation of iron and steel was abolished on Jan 16, 1992. Since then, steel prices are determined by the interplay of market forces. Domestic steel prices are influenced by trends in the raw material prices, demand supply, conditions in the market, and international price trends, among the others. As a facilitator, the government monitors the steel market conditions and adopts fiscal and other policy measures based on the assessment. Currently, GST of 18% is applicable on steel, and there is no export duty on steel items. A steel price monitoring committee has been constituted by the government with the aim to monitor price rationalization, analyze price fluctuations, and advise all the concerned regarding any irrational price behavior of steel commodity. To avoid any distortion in prices in view of ad hoc and rising imports, the government had taken several steps, including rising import duty, and imposed a gamut of measures, including anti-dumping and safeguard duties on a host of applicable iron and steel items. Few of the government initiatives. An export duty of 30% has been levied on iron ore to ensure supply to domestic steel industry. Government's focus on infrastructure and restarting road projects is aiding the boost in demand for steel. Also, further likely acceleration in rural economy and infrastructure is expected to lead to the growth in the demand for steel. The Union Cabinet has approved the National Steel Policy 2017 as it seeks to create a globally competitive steel industry in India. Iron and steel plants in India, let's look at them. There are 14 important iron and steel plants in India. In private sector, Tata Iron and Steel is the oldest plant. In recent decade, a number of steel plants have been located at Kalinganagar, Odisha. During and after the second 5-year plan, plants were established under public sector. Plants were established under public sector. The steel plants under the public sector are supervised by the Steel Authority of India Limited, which is SAIL. The Tata Iron and Steel Company, Jamshedpur. The TISCO plant is located at the confluence of Subarnarekha and Karkhai rivers, about 240 kilometers northwest of Kolkata in the Singhbhum district of Jharkhand. The Jamshedpur steel plant has an ideal location at which the transportation cost is the least. It obtains the supply of iron ore from Badampahar, Mayurbhanj district of Odisha, Naumundi in Singhbhum district of Jharkhand, coking coal from Jharia and Bokaro, manganese from Kenjuhar mines in Odisha, limestone and fire clay from Sundargarh district of Odisha, and fresh water from the Subarnarekha and Karkhai rivers. Being situated in the tribal belt, cheap labor is also available, and the finished products can be exported through the port of Kolkata. Next, we have the Indian Iron and Steel Company, IISCO, Burnpur. The Indian Iron and Steel Company, founded in 1918, and Steel Corporation of Bengal, founded in 1927, were merged under the former name in 1952. It has 3 separate plants at Burnpur, about 5 kilometers southwest of Asansol, Hirapur, about 6 kilometers south of the Asansol, and Kulti, about 16 kilometers west of Asansol. The management of these steel plants was taken over by the government in 1972. These steel plants obtain iron ore from the mines at Goa. The coal is obtained from Ramnagar mines of Jhadia, which is only about 3 kilometers from Kulti. Manganese is obtained from Bihar, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh and Odisha. Next, we have the Bhadravati Iron and Steel Plant, VISL. The Vishveshwaraya Iron and Steel Limited at Bhadravati, formerly known as Mysore Iron and Steel Limited, was established in 1823. The plant was taken over by the central government in 1962. It obtains iron ore from Kudremukh, Baba Budan Hills in the Chikmagalur district of Karnataka. Manganese, limestone, dolomite and fire clay are also available within a distance of 50 kilometers. Electricity is available from the Jog and the Sharavati power projects. The plant is one of the major producers of alloy and special steel in the country. It also produces casting iron, ferrosilicon, mild steel and spun pipes. Next, we have the Bhilai Iron and Steel Plant, HSL. The Bhilai Iron and Steel Plant was established with the technical cooperation of Russian government, the erstwhile Soviet Union in the Durg district of Chhattisgarh in 1954. It obtains its iron ore from the Dhalli Rajhara mines about 95 kilometers south of the plant, coal from Korba, Chhattisgarh, Bokaro and Jhadia, Jharkhand, manganese from Balaghat and Bandara, limestone from Nandani mines, only 18 kilometers from Bhilai, water from Tandula Canal and Reservoir, electricity from Korba Thermal Power Station. As it is located in the tribal belt of Chhattisgarh, cheap labor is locally available. The finished products are exported through the port of Visakhapatnam. Next, we have the Rourkela. Rourkela Iron and Steel Plant, Hindustan Steel Limited. The Rourkela Steel Plant is located in the Sundargarh district of Odisha along the Kolkata-Nagpur railway line. It was built with the technical cooperation from the German firm Krupps and Demang in 1959. The plant obtains its iron ore from Mayurbhanj, coal from Bokaro, Jhadia, Talcher and Korba, manganese from Sundargarh, water from Shankha and Koel rivers, which are tributaries of Brahmani river, and the hydropower from the Hirakud dam. Cheap labor is available from Jharkhand and densely populated Bihar state. Next, we have the Durgapur Iron and Steel Plant. The Durgapur Iron and Steel Plant was established with the help of British companies in 1956. The production was started in 1962. The city of Durgapur is located along the Damodar river. It obtains iron ore from Singhbhum, Jharkhand and Kenjuhar in Odisha, coal from Raniganj, manganese from Balaghat and water from the Damodar river. It produces ingot steel. Next, we have the Bokaro Bharat Steel Limited. The Bokaro steel plant was located with the help of Soviet collaboration in 1964. It obtains its iron ore from Kenjuhar district, coal from Bokaro, Jhadia and Kargali coal mines, lime from Daltonganj in Palamu district, dolomite from Bilaspur district, and water from the Tenu dam across the Damodar river. Bokaro is essentially a flat product plant, and the hot and cold rolling mines are its main production units. Next, we have the Salem steel plant. The steel plant was commissioned in 1982. It obtains iron ore from neighboring areas. Manganese, dolomite, and limestone are also available within a distance of 60 kilometers. Cheap power and labor and enormous market are the added advantage. It produces iron and steel of special grade. Next, we have the Vijayanagar steel plant. This steel plant is located near Hospet in the Bellary district of Karnataka. It obtains iron ore from Hospet, coal from Kanhan Valley, Chhattisgarh, and Singareni coal mines of Andhra Pradesh. Limestone and dolomite are also available within a distance of 150 kilometers. Water from the Tungabhadra reservoir about 35 kilometers, and cheap hydel power from the Tungabhadra project. In the steel plant is produced with the Corex process, which makes use of non-coking coal. Well, next we have the Visakhapatnam steel plant. The foundation of the steel plant was laid in 1971 and the actual production was commissioned in 1992. This steel plant was established by the Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited, which is the National Steel Corporation Limited. This is the oldest steel plant of India, which has a coastal location. It obtains iron ore from Bailadela, which is in the Chhattisgarh region, coal from Bokaro, Raniganj and Jhadia, limestone and dolomite from Bastar in Chhattisgarh region, Maharashtra and Odisha. It specializes in the production of the steel, and quality of its steel can be compared to the global standards. Next, we have the Daitari steel plant. A steel plant has been located at Daitari near Paradweep in Odisha. Initially, it was to be established in collaboration with the British and the South Korean companies. Its responsibility has, however, been given to the Tata Group. It has a capacity of 2.6 million tons. Next, we have the Dolvi steel plant. A new steel plant is being set up by the Ispat Industries Limited at Dolvi in the Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra. This steel plant is equipped with the latest technology in steel manufacturing. It requires less space, less energy, high labor productivity, and less cost of production. The plant is capable of producing stripes as thin as 1 mm. Its annual capacity is 3 million tons. Next, we have the Kalinganagar steel plant. In the Jaipur district of Odisha, a new industrial hub has been developed in the recent years. The main steel plants are that of Tata Group, Jindal, Maithan Group, Deenbandhu, JK Spat, POSCO, etc. in Kalinga industrial area. This steel plant has been undertaken by the Tata Steel Company. The first phase of the project was completed in 2005. Next, we have the POSCO Steel in Paradweep region. The Pohang Steel Company of South Korea has agreed with the Odisha government to establish an iron and steel plant at Paradweep. The project is likely to be commissioned in 2016. It is one of the biggest FDI, foreign direct investments, in India. When complete, it will require over 600 million tons of iron ore for production of iron and steel. Next, we have many mini steel plants. In addition to these, there are more than 230 mini steel plants with a capacity of 10,000 tons to 5 lakh tons. The main factors responsible for the growth and establishment of the mini steel plants, we can look at them. Firstly, it is the heavy demand for iron and steel. Next, it's the lower cost of production. Next, controlled price of the steel, easy availability of scrap at lower prices from home and abroad, lower capital investment and shorter gestation period. Well, now let's look at the National Steel Policy 2017. The policy aims to enhance domestic steel consumption and transform Indian steel into a technologically advanced and globally competitive steel industry. Let's look at few of the features. The policy aims to provide support to private manufacturers and MSME steel producers. It promotes the development of steel manufacturing capabilities. Next, it facilitates the foreign investment and enhances the domestic steel demand. The policy promotes the cost-effective production. It also aims to ensure at availability of iron ore, coking coal, natural gas and competitive prices. It targets a production of 225 million tons and robust finished steel per capita consumption of 158 kg by 2030-31. Well, now let's look at the problems of iron and steel industry. Heavy investment. The establishment of iron and steel industry requires huge amount of capital. Moreover, the plant has a long gestation period. Construction of iron and steel plants is a difficult proposition, and therefore most of the steel plants are in public sector. Next problem is the obsolete technology. The iron and steel plants established during the second 5-year plan are not working to the full capacity as the machinery is outdated. Next, we have the inefficient public sector. Most of the iron and steel plants in public sector are incurring heavy losses, mainly due to poor management and underutilization of capacity. Next problem is the controlled prices. The government has fixed price for iron and steel, which leaves very little margin of profit for the manufacturers. Next is the sickness of mini steel plants. Due to inadequate supply of power and sharp increase in the raw materials, many of these small iron and steel plants are either experiencing sickness or are being closed down. Next problem is the inadequate supply of coking coal. India's coking coal deposits are confined largely to Raniganj and Jhadia coal mines. These coal mines have become fairly deep and the cost of product of coal has gone up. The next problem is the competition in the international market. In the international markets, it's becoming increasingly difficult to compete with the steel of Australia, Brazil, France, Germany, Japan, Canada, Sweden, UK and the United States. Modern industrialization is synonymous with the development of iron and steel industry. The extent of industrialization in any country is usually measured in terms of the per capita consumption of steel. This is because all other industries have to depend on steel, out of which machinery of any kind is manufactured. As soon as the process of machine production gets momentum, the rate of industrialization gets strengthened. Thus, in the dynamics of industrial growth in any country, the growth of iron and steel industry is undoubtedly crucial. India surpassed Japan as the second top steel producer in January 2019. India was the world's second largest steel producer, with production standing at 111.2 million tons in 2019.